What's up YouTube people, thanks for tuning in. Berrlett here, and you are watching another video about Days Gone, and this time I'm afraid it's going to be a bit of a rant, but it's not a rant about the game itself. It's going to be a rant about some of the critics that worked really hard to find the means to destroy the game, and I thought it's only fair that someone should bring up the points that they mentioned and try to argue each point and see where we get with this. Days Gone came out about a week ago. I finished the campaign about 2-3 days ago. I made my own review of the game. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. The game generally scored okay, good. I'm very happy for the developers, for Bent Studio. Commercially it's doing very good, and that's really important. The scores, as I said, critically it's above good, above average good. So you get stuff like Metacritic's on 7.2. The user base of Metacritic is 7.9, and obviously that's out of 10. Stuff.tv gave it 4 out of 5. Games Radar gave it 3.5 out of 5. Game Informer gave it 7.8 out of 10. Game Revolution 4 out of 5. You got plenty of a French, let's talk worldwide, a French gaming magazine called Jeux Video gave it 15 out of 20. Videogamer.com gave it 8 out of 10. The Escapist gave it 8 out of 10. My score, basing it on 5 critical points or sections of the game, I got to 8 out of 10, and I thought that's the score it deserved. Now, as you can see, the scores, all the scores that I've seen up to that point fall within a range of about 1.5, so 1.5 points away from each other, all starts within early 7 and ends with mid 8. Nothing really abnormal about like nothing went drastically below that or considerably higher than that. Nothing of that happened until the next morning. I was checking out the internet, and I just stumbled upon an article, and I saw there's a score. I clicked on the article. It took me to GameSpot, and I saw that 5 out of 10 they gave it. So the game obviously was destroyed with this article. The article was written by obviously GameSpot person Kelly. Now, sure, everybody's entitled to their own opinion of the game. The only thing is that when you write, when I do it for my own pleasure, that's something that's absolutely personal. However, I hope the person who wrote the article about Games Gone for GameSpot always had it in mind that they are writing for a professional gaming critic site. So I wanted to go through some of the stuff that she said in this article, and just discuss some points. I can't go through all the article because it's quite long. But I did read it, I did go through it, and I actually replied on GameSpot. I replied on after GameSpot they published the article, or the extended version of the article, in a sort of an interview on YouTube, and I also replied to that. So I wanted to go through some of the points that she mentioned, Kelly. So she says that. Here, let's start. The over-the-top libertarian character takes you out with a rifle and shows you how to track a deer. Although you've already had a tracking tutorial, Okay, so it's the same tutorial basically. I don't know, maybe you had it twice for some reason. Probably it was a glitch or something like that. But to take this into deep consideration, to put it in an article you publish on a critic site, I don't know. Seems a bit harsh. You then tasked with getting more meat for you and your buddy because your supply is running low, something you never have to do again. Now, I actually don't understand what is your interpretation of horror survival, or survival altogether. Okay, so yeah, sure, that's, you do a lot of that. So you go out to the world, you hunt animals, you kill animals, and you bring meat, you scavenge, you look for that stuff, and that's why the game's called survival. So okay, and I failed to see actually your understanding of that, because your supply is running low. Yeah, of course. So the consumption of that will get you to, run low on your supply. The something you don't have to do again. Yes, you have to do again. So you kill animals, you get the meat, you take them back to the camp, you exchange them for credits, and then you can work on your bike. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to be very careful not to spoil the game to anyone who hasn't played it yet, but on the fence about it. So yeah, you do. You will need to go to get meat, and you bring it back to the camp, and it will be transferred into a very useful currency that you use towards upgrading your pretty much everything. That I actually failed to see on your part, because I don't understand what is your exact interpretation of survival or horror survival games, because that's one of the very important elements of these type of games. That is very important. Yes, you go out, you scavenge, you look for supplies, you look for parts, you look for weapons. That's what you do in especially in open world survival games. Moving on, let's get into that part. I just stumbled upon, because I'm reading the article at the same time I'm doing the video. Like many things in Days Gone, hunting exists just to be there. Okay, an idea that's picked up and then abandoned at random. Abandoned? Well, you as I just mentioned it. It's a very important source to get meat, and then to bring it back to the camp so that you can exchange it for currency, for credits, so that you can work on your stuff. Now, is it optional? Of course it's optional. You don't have to do it. Again, I failed to see what is your understanding of survival horror games, and also abandon at random. Well, the game doesn't ask you to abandon it. To the contrary, it keeps reminding you that it's good for you to, kill animals, kill deer, get the wolves that attack you, get their meat and bring it back to the camp so that you exchange the stuff for the meat for credits to work on your upgrades. I really failed to see what did you take negative on this idea. Most aspects of Days Gone lack purpose. Okay. I mean, honestly, after all said and done, it's your own take on it. Obviously, it's your personal opinion and stuff. But to put something like, but most aspects of Days Gone lack purpose, I found that very harsh, very, very harsh. And now talking about GameSpot, I mean, you've been dashing out scores, very lenient scores to games that were similar, or at least probably worse, or at least similar to this. Again, I failed to see the reason behind all that unreasonable stuff that you put about this game. the rest of the well, a lot of the review is actually not a review. It's just sort of like running through the story itself. She explains, some, without trying very hard, I can see, without spoiling it, so that if you want to play it, she doesn't go into like real details of the game, which is fair play to her. That's very good. However, I wouldn't call that a review. That's just basically going through the story and giving you the headlines of what's going on and what happens, etc. And then a lot of that article is actually about that. It's almost like just filling in the gaps. So you just go through, like she tells you about, like early on in the story, Deacon is separated from his wife. He ends up with his best friend, and so a lot of that, and it's not actually, that's not a review. It's just basically going through the game story. And again, when she does that, I actually fail to see what is negative. You just basically telling the story of the game. There's nothing bad about it. You're not saying anything bad, or you're not taking anything negative against the game. Some of the stuff I see here, and you can't store a gas can on your bike or your person. Well, of course, the bike is a very important. I'll get back to this line in a minute, but the bike is a very important element of the game. You spend a lot of time on the back of the bike. That's true. Now, what she says is that you can't store a gas can on your bike or your person. So either you have to return to camp to fuel up, or constantly scrounge for gas cans out in freaker territory. Again, Kelly, when you write stuff like that, like I'm the audience, right? You are supposedly the professional reviewer. When you write something like this, and I've been playing games, and I've played my fair share of survival horror games. I've been gaming for, well, since the late 80s, for 30 plus years actually. When you say stuff like that, actually the most puzzling thing I find is, what is your understanding of survival horror games? Have you played survival horror games? I don't get it. So kind of like the name gives out the meaning. It's a survival. So what do you want to have a fuel can attached to your bike everywhere you go, and or you want to have maybe a gas station every 10 meters so you can park and just fuel your bike and keep moving? I really don't understand. What is your interpretation of a survival horror games, or survival games altogether? And the other thing is, how about the tutorial that you complained about earlier, and we just went through the review in the first part. How about a lot of these tutorials, it tells you will find gas tanks or gas cans around cars, in tunnels, outside. You will find a lot. And how about if you click on that right stick and you highlight the map, you go to the instinct, the survival instinct, and it will show you the gas locations on the map. How is that went through your review without being spotted or mentioned? I don't understand. It feels that you just wanted to take something negative about the game, and it also feels that the game had all right to do that to you. Okay, so when you play survival horror games, yes, there is a certain level of difficulties, there's a certain level of struggle. The game wants you to suffer. It's part of the atmosphere of the game. It's part of the game creation. It's part of that world, right? And I'm sure if you had a can of gas attached to your bike, you would have complained about that too. Sorry, but anyways, I failed to see your interpretation of survival horror games. And you know, sure, as I said, it's your own opinion on the game, etc. But with all due respect, maybe you're not the best qualified to review a game like this. Okay, so moving on. The only result is getting some trust and credits with one of the camps. Yes, yeah, sure. So here she's talking about these small side missions that you do. So they will pop on your map and they will invite you in, and you will continue. So you'll be chasing some baddies, and you knock them out of their bike, and what we're saying is that you will be getting credits one of the camps. Okay, so if your point about this, that thing is being repetitive, you might be, let's say it's fair, okay, sure, right? But if your point is against the purpose of that, then no, that's no. You need to take stuff back to the camp. You need credits, and you know that you need credit because you wrote at the end of your article that you maxed out your bike. So you should have gone through all of that, right? You should have done all of that, and you should have seen the reward of that. You should have seen the results of getting to the end of that. Again, so it's all tied up to the same point as your understanding of survival horror games, which for me doesn't. Yeah. Anyways, again, I'm going to the fourth page here, and we're talking story. She's just talking about Deacon and his wife, and she's talking about Deacon and his best buddy Boozer, and she's talking about the other characters, Copeland and Tucker and all these people, etc. That you will come, if you decide to play the game, you'll come across, and they're just normal people that you deal with. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them have good intentions, some of them have otherwise, and so on. It's yeah, sorry, this is not a review. This is just basically running through the game unnecessarily for a review. I picked up another line here. She says that they don't ever provide a convincing reason why they're together. Oh, she's talking about Deacon and his wife. So Deacon is a biker, he's a drifter. You look at him, I mean, you've seen him here, he looks almost like a bandit leader, or yeah, sure, he's probably a thug, and he's tough, and he gets tougher in the game. Sarah, which you get introduced to in the beginning of the game, is a scientist, and she's sweet. She's very sort of calm. She's soft and gentle and all that stuff, etc. So what are you saying here, Kelly? I don't understand. So these two have no right to date? I mean, yeah. So let's say that, in your opinion, this is type of the type of relationship that you never understand, etc. How about the rest of the world? How about the other people's opinion? How about scientists who actually, like real life scientists, who date people who are not scientists? How about that, right? Because here, what she says here, they don't ever provide a convincing reason why they're together. How about they love each other? Okay, Deacon is a biker and Sarah is a nice girl scientist, which is fine, okay, but opposites attract isn't enough to make their relationship compelling, really, okay. Yeah, so we moved on from your understanding, your interpretation of survival horror games, to just basically picking on anything to stick negativity on the game, and that's shame, really. That is really shame. Okay, so moving on. The Nero arc is where things really pick up. Spying on neuroscientists consists of insta-fail stealth missions. They can be frustrating before you unlock abilities to improve your stealth skills. That's absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. And again, here, if you put something like this, then I question your your experience, your prowess playing survival horror games where you have to hide and stealth attack, etc. Because if you haven't done a lot of those, which I'm compelled to say that you haven't, but then you're probably not the best qualified to talk about this game. But that's absolutely not true. The first encounter with the neuroscientist is very easy, and then it keeps moving up the ladder, which is logical. Slightly harder, like each encounter is slightly harder than the one before, but nothing's impossible to do. Actually, the game is designed so that you can do all of those without upgrading your stealth prowess. You don't have to even get it one step higher to complete any of those. So again, that's just a point, a point that is pointless, that you trying very hard to find to say about the game, and that's again really shame. We get to the part again. She goes over explaining the game, talking about some events. So not really a review. There's nothing bad to say about when the story is the story. It is what's written for this game. So and you just basically writing a narrative of that on your review. There's nothing bad about that. We get to this, but that mission is followed very quickly. We get to the end of the game. Yeah, sure. The end of the game, the final third, which like pretty much in any other game, things tend to pick up. It's only normal. They get harder. The game starts testing your abilities to survive the game. And that happens. So if you don't like that, then seriously, don't play survival horror games, because they are like that. That's what they do. So anyways, so she says here, you have that horde mission. Well, let's read it. But that mission is followed very quickly by another one, and after a short break you have two more nearly back-to-back horde missions that lead up to the end of the main story without any breathing room. Okay. Yeah, as I said, so these type of games, especially the survival, by the time you get to the final quarter of the game, you've introduced everything, you know your character, you know your abilities, you know your weapons, and you know the enemy, and so on, etc. And this is where the game starts testing your ability. So it could be major boss battles, big bosses. It could also be horde missions like the one you have here, back to back, just to see, like, if you run out of supply, run out of grenades, you run out of Molotov cocktails and so on, how would you do it, how would you react, etc. And that's the fun of it. Yeah, that's the fun of it. That's what survival games do to you. That's absolutely normal. There's nothing bad about it. And if it didn't do that, it would have been probably worse than it is, right? So yeah, again, some story stuff. She talks about some morals, and then we get to that line, Deacon is selfish and it's simply boring that the game is uncritical of him. Okay. Yeah, you probably didn't like the character, you didn't like him, fair enough, that's your take on it. Well, he is a survivor. He's someone who's thrown into a world post-apocalyptic. It's gone, it's destroyed basically. There's nothing there. So I don't know what you mean by selfish. Yeah, selfish with Sarah. Is he selfish with Boozer, with the characters of the game? I have no idea what that means, but and it's simply boring that the game is uncritical of him. Okay, so yeah, he's the game's protagonist. He's the main character of the game. The game won't show you any. Well, probably it does. I don't know. It makes life harder for him. Yeah. Here you go. That's that's a gas can. You see, you just hop in the back of a truck and boom, it's there. So overall, GameSpot, I've been checking your reviews, I've been checking up. I'm a member of GameSpot. I chat to people sometimes and exchange some emails and so on, etc. And this review basically I found shocking. It's absolutely out of line and it's absolutely unnecessary. Probably this game should have been entrusted to someone who appreciate these type of games. I'm sure that person would have given it a better score. Other aspects that is taken against it, like being repetitive. You go to clear out ambush camps and infestation nests, etc. So yeah, well, other games do that too. I mean, Far Cry 5 did that. That scored very high. I believe you guys, GameSpot gave it Far Cry 5. You gave it I think 9, something like superb. And also you gave Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I mean, when you clear out these big I'm just talking about the latest games that came out in the last 6 months or so. You gave Assassin's Creed Odyssey a very good score. You gave Far Cry 5 a good score. And basically there's a lot of grinding, especially early on in the game. This is no different. I don't see why this took the knife where the others just got away with it. So overall, a very poor review. It's absolutely not necessary. I think, again, the game should have been entrusted to someone else, someone who appreciates these type of games. Kind of reading throughout, like Kelly's review, I do get the feeling that she is into different type of games, maybe with story-driven JRPG type of games, probably, I don't know, but also maybe open-minded, but not to these type of, not to this one at least, not to the survival horror genre. That's what I found quite disappointing. Well, let's put it that way. Feels almost that the reviewer had a game in mind, a game that is absolutely picture perfect, and she measured up all of the other games that she reviewed to that picture perfect, not respecting the differences of the genre, not respecting the differences of the the games themselves, the character building, etc. So there you go. That's my rant about GameSpot score. I hope this is something to be considered in the future, and so we don't fall into the same pit again. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope this is not too long. Please, if you like this content, subscribe to this channel. Leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think, and we'll talk soon. Bye.